Hi everyone, I'm Donna, the accounting lady. I am here to simplify your accounting. And by doing that, it typically means I'm going to simplify your whole life. Isn't that great? Um, Before I get started, today I'm going to answer just some general questions about accounting that ugh, I'm shedding that small business owners, need to know. They need to know, then they need to be asking these questions of their accountant. And then I'm going to go into, over this week, I'm going to go into some videos that are more about general business. I had a long talk with a friend of mine who, he's an amazing salesman, just absolutely amazing, and he's really good at knowing what a business needs to do to be successful. And we had a long talk about this, and he was like, this is so easy. And I just kept saying, to you. It's easy to you. It is not easy to everyone, because he's been immersed, like me, I've been immersed in an entrepreneurial lifestyle my whole life. My grandparents were entrepreneurs, my parents were entrepreneurs, and so I'm really just kind of carrying on a family tradition. So anyway, before I get started, really diving in because I'm excited, if you find these videos useful, helpful, interesting, entertaining in any way, if you just think I have a pretty face, whatever, please like, share, and subscribe. I would love, and feel free to comment below. I would love to hear from you, and I'm really interested to find out what you want answered. I know this topic is like watching paint dry. I realize that. I'm studying it. I'm going to go through about 4 more terms, or 6. It's supposed to be 4 years of study to actually learn this, and I've been doing it for 12 years, so I get it. This is not the most exciting thing in the world, and you're probably wondering why I'm so passionate about it. But I do see what happens on the back end, what happens with the business owners, which is why I have passion for it. Also, if you are interested in a free, no obligation bookkeeping consultation, please reach out to me on whatever platform that you're seeing this on. I usually post these on Facebook and YouTube, so if you would like more information, please feel free to send me a direct message with your phone number and email address so that I can reach you, and let's see what I can do for you. I will go over your system and see how well it's working for you, and then if it works, great. Odds are, if you're reaching out, it probably doesn't. So then I'll talk to you about my proven system that I have been using for the past 10 years. And I have just made, so many business owners so happy for all that time. And with this said, let's move on. One of the questions before you ever even hire an accountant, you want to ask some very specific things, because one of the things that's really frustrating as an accountant is to realize that your client has entirely different expectations than you're actually providing services for. A lot of people think that accounting is tax preparation. In fact, I have heard people say, with the tax code being simplified, if we went to a flat tax, all the accountants would be out of business, and that's not true. Tax accountants would have a hard time. I don't do tax accounting. I'll tell people that up front. I don't do tax accounting. I do managerial accounting. Oh my gosh, what's the difference? So why don't you do taxes? I get this question a lot. I don't do taxes because that's not my primary focus. I am usually pretty conversant with the tax law, but I am not up on the latest and greatest and coolest and whatever came out of Congress this year. I do know, however, how to give you the information that you need to run your business. And that may or may not be stuff that's going to show up on your tax return. A really common example of this is I break out several expenses for automobile expense. Because if you own your own business and you drive, you can write off your car. But the fact that you can write it off does not necessarily mean that that's all you need. It doesn't mean that you just need your mileage. Okay, what you actually need to know is the IRS will let you claim your mileage. And odds are pretty good you should. But if you're a business owner, you actually need to know, how much did you spend in gas? How much did you spend in insurance for your car? How much did you spend on repairs? Because these are the questions that you need to answer if you're evaluating replacing your car, if you're evaluating if you want to rent or buy, or lease or buy. You need to kind of weigh this out. If your repair bill is starting to go way up and you're effectively making a double car payment, then it might be worthwhile to sell the old vehicle and buy a new one. That's one example. That is not covered in a tax return. A tax return, you probably just want to claim your mileage. For managerial and operations information, you need to know the whole picture. Can I help you through your tax season? Absolutely. I can get you your tax accountant everything they need to know. I can answer their questions, and I'm happy to do that. I can spend quite a bit of time on the phone with them going over, this is why we did this is what this is, let me explain this other thing. And a lot of times my clients, it's almost like it's another language. So I kind of serve as an interface between my client, the business owner, and their tax preparer, because I speak both languages. It's like the tax preparer is speaking German and the business owner is speaking English. So it just happens that I'm fluent in German as well. So it's just something I can do. But if you were to hire me with the expectation that I'm going to do your taxes, that just needs to be right on the table, because I don't do taxes. That's not part of what I do. That's not my focus. And I am going to talk quite a bit more about managerial accounting and why it's important in another video. Another thing that you need to be asking your accountant before you hire them, or your bookkeeper, and I've talked before about the different roles in the accounting world. I will talk about it again. What should I consult with you about on an ongoing basis? Now, if you're working with me, you need to be talking to me a lot. The most frustrating client I've had kind of fall into one of two camps. One is the one that wants to sit at my desk and watch me work because I might have a question. I know my job. I'm very, very good at this. This guy had his books were a complete disaster, and I was having to go and pull all this paperwork and research, trying to figure out what the heck he had done. And he had a fairly large business. And I was in his office space. I was in an office in his suite. And he kept coming in, well, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? And I finally had to lock the door. It just was, just go away, leave me alone. I will come to you if I have a question. Just really, because he was the worst offender. He was just terrible. That's micromanaging. I'm not a fan of that. The other, and that doesn't happen very often. Usually I'm wanting my clients to be more involved. The other side of the spectrum is one that most of my clients fall into, where they say, we'll just figure it out. I have seen reruns of Johnny Carson kind of doing this with his big fancy hat and going, oh, that's the answer. And I actually have a magic 8-ball sitting on my desk, because that's really sometimes what I need to kind of figure out what my clients are trying to do. I understand that they want to just push it all off on me and never have to talk to me again. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Not if you want me to do a good job. You have to kind of strike that balance between being so hands-off that I can't get a hold of you to answer my questions, because I'm going to have questions. I'm going to be asking you, is that charge for Nordstrom? Can you explain to me how that's a business expense? Because I do need to know that. I need to know if your spouse is taking the company debit card and going around the mall. Because that's kind of, I need to talk to you about that. Remember those videos about commingling funds? I will do some more. But I need to know that. If you wrote a check to John Smith and there's no memo in it, I need to know what you were paying him for. Not that I want to be nosy. By the way, I really don't care. I have seen it all at this point. My favorite is still the client that was trying to tell me that his visits to the bunny ranch were somehow independent contractors. And while they are, it's not something you can write off, because he had nothing to do with that particular industry. So, you know, I have seen it all at this point. If only. Anyway, I need to know, you know, what these were for. And it's not that I'm trying to be nosy, and it's not even that I especially want to be, you know, the business deduction police. But I will tell you, if it's going to be considered, if you know, this is not the normal and ordinary course of doing business, I'm going to tell you that. And I'm going to tell you, you may have problems with the IRS later. So I like to talk to my clients at least quarterly, starting 3 months from the day that they sign on with me. I want to have a talk with them. And I usually schedule those the day the contract is signed. The reason is, if you go too long, a lot of my clients in the past have only wanted to talk to me at tax time. The problem is, then they have to remember all the stuff that happened 12 months ago, and they usually don't. I want to help you grow your business. And in order for you to do that, you have to have current and accurate information. So you should expect to hear from me every single week. You should expect me to want to sit down with you, and it can be a video call like this. You should expect me to sit down with you and start really digging into your books at least every quarter. And the reason is, I want to talk to you about, you know, is this person really an independent contractor, or are they an employee and you're just trying not to pay taxes? I want to talk to you about whether or not it's a good idea to rent or buy an office space or to upgrade your car. My job is to help you understand what's going on with you financially. Another question would be, how can you help me grow my business? This is the most important thing in the world to me. Number one, I want to make sure you have a financial model and a bookkeeping system that works so that you always, always have the correct information in front of you. Number two, I have a network of clients that I want to refer to each other. I have clients that do just about everything. And if they're not my client, I probably want to make them my client. And if they're neither, if they're just don't fit in my wheelhouse, then I want to connect you with someone that is going to be a really good fit for you. For example, if you're a house cleaning business and you don't do carpets, and you're my client, and you tell me, I need to find a really good carpet cleaner to be a strategic partner with, I'm going to call you back with a list. These are the ones that I know are really amazing carpet cleaners. You can trust these people. But the most important thing is you've got to build your financial house on a firm foundation, and you can't do that if you're winging it. The next question that you should be asking your accountant, how can you help me with my cash flow? Cash is king in business. Cash is absolutely king. And so if your accountant can't answer this question, I won't even tell you what to do, but you need to really pay attention to the answer. They need to be talking to you about your accounts payable, the bills that you owe. They need to be talking to you very in-depth about invoicing and about accounts receivable, the money that's owed to you. They need to be talking to you about how to make sure that money is coming in faster than money going out. They need to be talking to you about a savings plan, about retirement, about really developing a cash flow model. A lot of the businesses I've seen, especially the ones that I've seen go under, really went under because they weren't really looking at their cash flow. They were financing and financing and financing. And you can do that. You can do that up to a point. Eventually, your business has got to start producing more cash than it's spending. And the challenge is that a lot of business owners will look at a profit and loss, and they will see that their income exceeds their expenses and think that they're doing really well, but they've forgotten about, this $1 million over here on this side. And $1 million is not a lot in business that they owe, that they're paying huge payments to, because that does not show up on the profit and loss. That's something that your accountant needs to be talking to you about. We need to be talking to you a lot about making sure that the business is coming in. We need to talk to you about, are you spending money unnecessarily? I see this a lot. I've seen business owners pay big bucks for expensive software that they actually don't need for their business. As of today, the only software I pay for is QuickBooks. I pay for QuickBooks Online for my clients, but my clients basically pay for it. And I pay for Office. And everything else I use for free. There's no point in paying for Evernote if I already have OneNote for free. There's no point in paying for premium services of any kind if the basic is sufficient. So I really talk to you about, what's your cash flow like? And I send you this information every week. A next question you need to know is, what's my break-even point? In other words, are you making a profit or a loss? And this is kind of where job costing comes in. Job costing is the process where we kind of assign costs to a specific job. For example, if you're an auto repair shop and you're charging $300 to repair a car, we need to know how much the parts are. We need to know how much the labor was for that car, what it really was, not what you tell the customer it was. What it really was. How many hours did they actually spend, and how much is that technician being paid, and how much is their commission on that? So a lot of them will get an hourly rate, and then they'll get a commission based on the hourly rate that should be charged for. And shops don't make that up, by the way. They have software that tells them that, if you change an alternator, it's going to take 3.5 hours. And so that's what they charge. If you have a really good technician that works faster, he might be able to do it in 2. But the customer still gets, that's just the price. You need to know how much of the overhead, how much should it cost you to basically rent that bay and the hoist for the time it took to repair the car. There's a lot of factors that go into this. So now we need to know, how many cars do you need to repair? If you're an oil change shop like Jiffy Lube, how many oil changes do you have to do at the basic price, not anything upgraded, at the basic price to be able to break even? You need to know that. The reason you need to know that is if once you know that number, you know the minimum amount that you should be making. Many years ago, I worked for Papa John's Pizza, and they're still my favorite pizza place. I was an assistant manager, and my best friend at the time was the store manager, and we would always get frustrated. Or she was another assistant, sorry. We would get frustrated when the store manager would call us and say, "Oh, it's okay, you can close early." The reason we'd get frustrated was that we'd talk to the district manager, and he said, "You've broken even on your shop by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Everything after that is just profit. So you need to stay open in order to make more money, because as long as the orders were coming in, we wanted to stay in. Once you know that break-even point, you can make those kind of judgment calls. You can say, if I'm a pizza place, if I sell 50 pizzas, I've broken even. Everything after this is gravy. I don't have to worry about shutting the shop down in order to save money because everything's paid for. So that's just absolutely critical. Another question for your accountant. Again, this is a little bit more managerial accounting. Can you tell me how much my business is worth? I can examine your financials. I can examine your business plan. And I do have people that I can talk to help me make that assessment. It's not something I can do over the phone in 5 minutes, but it is something that I can do. The reason is, one of the reasons you want to know this is if you're ready to sell, or if you decide you might want to sell at some point, or maybe you decide when my business is worth this much money, then I'm going to sell. You need to know that. Basically, you need to be prepared to sell it. Okay, the next one. Can you help me negotiate business contracts before I sign them? My answer is going to be, I'm not a lawyer. Nope, I'm not an attorney. I'm an accountant. I do not want to help you negotiate your contracts. I can look at them and tell you if they make sense financially, but beyond that, I'm probably going to refer you to an attorney. And by the way, that's exactly the answer you should be getting. If you have an accountant that's actually that's answering that question any other way, you're practicing law without a license. What are some special considerations for my particular industry? Manufacturing is vastly different from retail. It doesn't make a lot of difference on the back end as far as the processes of accounting. Those are going to be the same, but there's a lot of things that are different. And so I do a lot with, my preferred niche is small businesses, service-oriented. In other words, I don't do retail, I don't do manufacturing by preference. It's not that I can't. Under 10 employees. So if they're more service-oriented, hairdressers, chiropractors, auto repair shops, anything to do with automotive, really. I really enjoy working with anything that doesn't require inventory. I hate inventory. Those are things that I really, other than inventory, I love working with small businesses. And I love working with small businesses because I want to help them become bigger businesses. The last question would be, what are some common mistakes that I should avoid when I'm working with you? And my number one is, I need you to answer my emails in a timely manner. And by in a timely manner, I mean preferably within 24 hours, except maybe on Friday when I would expect a response by Monday. If I'm asking questions, I need the answers. I would want my clients to treat me the way they expect me to treat them. So that's my policy, is if I will answer an email within 24 hours. Sooner if I possibly can, but sometimes I get really, really busy and I don't check my email till the end of the day. And then I will schedule an email to go the next morning. So 24 hours. Unless, again, Fridays is a special consideration, holidays are a consideration. If it's a weekend, I expect that you're going to have the weekends off. I expect my weekends to be kept sacred. So I would schedule, you know, if I can't answer it by 5 o'clock on Friday, it'll come on Monday. Same thing with holidays. If you're reaching out to me the day before Thanksgiving, you're not getting an answer till the Monday after. So I don't work on Thanksgiving, I don't work on Black Friday, and then that's the weekend. So that's kind of, where I go with that. So if it'll be the 24 hours of the next business day. And then I do expect you to really keep those lines of communication open. 99% of the problems that I've had with my clients, the challenges, I don't have problems, I have challenges, have been because the client hasn't been responsive. They haven't kept the lines of communication open. They haven't come forward with questions. They've just kind of made assumptions, and then I didn't know that this was going on. So I really want those lines of communication open. I would rather have my clients just annoy me with a lot of questions and a lot of emails than to not hear from them. So those are the questions you should be asking your attorney, or not your attorney, your accountant. That's what I do. I do accounting. I do speak English. I really do. And the blonde really doesn't go all the way. Yeah. The questions are simple. The answers may not be. And if you don't understand the answers that you're getting, don't hesitate to reframe the question. I think that's it for this video. Please, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, compliments, I don't take criticism very well, but yeah, if you don't like me tossing my hair, well, that's just too bad. I did have a lady comment on one of my videos that it's just making her sick to see how I tossed my hair. It's heavy and it's hot, and I like to get it off my neck. So that's just too bad, and I am not a professional actress, so there you go. But I do want to hear from you, so please feel free to reach out. My website will be in the description, and hope to hear from you soon. Bye.